Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to be answering the question, what does 2 Corinthians chapter 3 verse 17 mean? Alright, so to begin the answer, let's just take a look at what that verse says, right? It says, "Now the Lord is that Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty." So first, it's important that we review the context to this statement. From verse 1, Apostle Paul was describing the difference between those who were held in bondage by the customs and traditions of the Jews and those who embraced the saving gospel of Christ and were free or liberated from those encumbrances. Paul explained in many of his epistles that the Jews had been in captivity to the laws handed down by Moses, including the 10 Commandments in Exodus chapter 20, and many traditions created as the Jews advanced and grew. By the time Jesus came to the earth, customs and traditions were so plentiful and restrictive that people's every activities, from how they should wash their hands before eating to what precision they should tithe, they were all regulated by laws. If you read Matthew chapter 15 verse 2 and chapter 23 verse 23. In 2 Corinthians chapter 3 verse 17, Paul was saying that the Spirit of God frees or liberates one from the encumbrances of such laws. Why? The reason is that, to quote Jeremiah chapter 31 verses 31 to 34, the law moves from being outside you to being inside you. And so rather than the law restricting your fleshly desires from outside, the law regulates them from within. This is why Paul said in Galatians chapter 5 verses 22 to 23 that for those who imbibe or internalize virtues like patience, love, and peace, they have no law. They will naturally practice and obey all the laws of God. They don't need to read them in a book or be reminded constantly about them. On the other hand, someone who is unable to imbibe the right way will always have to be beaten into shape and disciplined by law and order. To quote King Solomon, even if you beat fools half to death, you still can't beat their foolishness out of them. That's Proverbs chapter 27 verse 22 from the Good News Translation. It's interesting to note that righteous men like Abraham and Joseph actually worshipped God in this free or liberal way as Paul described, even though such ideas were not established until the arrival of Jesus Christ. The men I mentioned didn't read any Torah or book, and neither were there laws that God wrote down for them to follow. They were simply a law unto themselves, according to Romans chapter 2 verses 14 to 15. They had the Holy Spirit. Paul called that the Spirit of the Lord in 2 Corinthians chapter 3 verse 17. And so they were directed to do the right things from within, not from without. So what Paul is explaining here has actually been what men as old as Noah and Abraham did. It just wasn't established or explained in detail until the birth of Christianity. Let me end my answer by bringing it home. Any obedient child, wife, or employee will experience 2 Corinthians chapter 3 verse 17, fulfilling their lives. They have the spirit of obedience, and so their leaders will not need to direct them constantly or remind them of their obligations. They are essentially free, not in the sense that they can do whatever they like, approved or not, but in the sense that they are free to regulate and direct themselves, because being obedient, they can be trusted to use their free will to do what their masters require. But a disobedient subordinate does not have such freedom to self-direct, because they will use it to rebel. Therefore, they have to be directed constantly, and so they are in bondage. Alright, so that's where I'm going to stop on answering that question. What does 2 Corinthians chapter 3 verse 17 mean? And that verse once again reads, "Now the Lord is that Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty." If you enjoyed this video and like the way I answered this question, then I'd greatly appreciate if you click the like button and also the subscribe button. And if you want to be notified when I come back with another video just like this, you know what to do. You can click the notification bell. Alright guys, have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.